I hope plenty of you can join us today. I hope you're all well. It's been an incredibly busy few days for me. I'm just absolutely exhausted. It's 12 noon here in the UK, as you guys will know. I'm just going to try and get myself hooked up here. And yeah, there we go. Got the live stream on my wife's iPad, which means I'll be able to see your messages and what have you. And you can hear my wife's iPad. There we go, taking care of that. So, yeah. Hi, Jenny. Good afternoon to you as well. Hope you are well. So there's 2 or 3 things to go through today. I'm just going to get a little scrap of paper so I can jot down a few things so I don't forget to mention them. But as a lot of you will know, today is your chance, if you're not a patron, to get hold of some walking onion bulbs. Hi, Jeff and Deb. I hope you're doing all right. How's your storm damage going? Are you all up and running now? I know you've got your electric back on, but are you kind of all sorted, or are you still dealing with the aftermath of that? I'd like to know. Yeah, so yesterday I was at a market, a big town festival market. It was really, really good actually, but it means I'm absolutely exhausted. Hello, Emma McPherson. How are you doing? Again, I hope you're all really well. Thank you all so much for joining me. It makes, really makes a difference, and it touches me deeply that you go to the effort of, blocking it. The fact that I can just put a date in the diary and that people turn up and Emma says, I'm here for the walking onions. Yeah, I don't blame you. So, so Jeff and Deb, all good. That's excellent to hear. So I'm just going to make a note of everyone that is asking for the onions. So Emma, you are down because it's no good if you're watching this later. If you're not watching live, then I'm sorry to say you don't qualify for the walking onions. But I'm just reading a couple of messages. So Jenny Nichols writes, I've messaged you on Patreon already for some Egyptian walking onions, if that's okay. Yes, absolutely, Jenny, it is. And again, as always, the offer to patrons is always open. So if you're a patron of the podcast or the YouTube channel, it's one and the same, then you are qualified already and you get your hands on some Egyptian walking onions if you want them. And this is the chance for non-patrons as well to qualify for some free Egyptian walking onion bulbs. And they're just one of the very, very, very best plants of all the vegetables that I grow. They're right up there. If I could only keep one, they'd be in the conversation for sure, because they just give and give and give. And you've all seen, I imagine, my patch out there and my nice big Egyptian walking onion patch, and I populated that within just a couple of years from just 3 bulbs. I had 5 bulbs, but 2 of them didn't do anything. So from the 3 that survived, I've populated that giant patch. So Emma McPherson writes something very interesting to me. I read somewhere that dried white clover tastes like vanilla. Well, I will definitely be giving that a go. So there are 2 plants that were already in my mind for vanilla. This is sort of continuing on a conversation that we had last week, isn't it? The 2 that were already in my mind are sweet woodruff and meadow sweet. Now, meadow sweet just grows in abundance everywhere. I've done a video on that, of how to identify that. So that's definitely what I'm going to be doing. Thanks, Emma. That'd be awesome. Emma's going to send me a link to the article. Thank you so much. And the other one is sweet woodruff. And sweet woodruff is one that I haven't actually got growing really close to my house. I'm going to have to go and find some, because that's definitely one that I want to try as well as vanilla substitutes. And this idea of white clover, I'm really intrigued by. And I'm not sure. I'm guessing, so if you're a forager and you're after clover, you probably already know this, but if you want the sweetness in clover, you want to harvest it sort of first thing in the morning, because that's before the bees and whatever harvest the nectar and pollen from it. So that's when it's at its sweetest. And Jason is here as well saying hello, Carl. Hi, Jace. That's my brother-in-law. So Going back a while, those of you who've been following me for a little while, when I had my injury last autumn, early winter, Jason actually stepped up and was an amazing help to me here at the homestead, and he featured on a couple of videos. And yeah, I wouldn't have been able to manage a lot of the stuff I was doing outside without him. So he's been on a few of the videos, and he's here watching today. So hi, Jason, and I'm assuming you're with Lana, Khaleesi, and Star. So hello, girls, if you're there, if you're watching. Good morning from the Parnabys. Hi, Mark. Hello to all of you, and obviously the children. And Susie Grange says, can I have some Egyptian walking onions, please? Yes, you can. So again, to talk about the Egyptian walking onions briefly, and then we'll just touch on it again later. Then I probably won't talk about it again for the bit in the middle. If you want them, you have to ask for them now on this live video, and I'm going to make a little note down here. You've probably seen me doing it of all the people that asked for them. And then just follow up by sending me an email, please. The email is in the description, the email address. And once you've sent me your email, once you've sent me an email with your address in it, assuming you're on my list of people that commented on the live chat, then I will absolutely get them in the post to you. Just a few things about geographies. I have sent them to the US before with no trouble. I'm happy to do that. I have sent them to Denmark before with no trouble. I'm happy to do that. There are some issues sending them to Australia. Again, I'm happy to do it, but chances are they'll just get flagged and destroyed at customs. But that is, up to you. So a few other comments here. Hannah Starrett. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Hannah. Is it Starrett? Good morning. Dog walk took longer than expected. And then please, can we have some Egyptian walking onions? Yes, you absolutely can, Hannah. And thank you so much for joining us. And next up is Project Serenity. Hi from Andrea at Project Serenity in Lancs. Hi, Andrea. What is Project Serenity? Tell us a little bit about it. So going back to my day, so as you all know, it's noon here, and I've been dressed about 5 minutes because it's just been... So the tail end of last week, as you guys know, I generally, if I can, I try and put out a video every day. And I didn't put one out on Friday. I'm not sure if I put one out on Thursday. I think I think Friday I didn't put one out. And then obviously yesterday I put out just that 1 minute little tiny clip, really, because my work week was ridiculous towards the end of last week, and it just mounted up, and it's going to be the same next week. It's just my workload is horrendous at the moment, and coupled with that, I had this market festival show thing yesterday. I've got some video from that, not as much as I thought, because it was just, again, so busy. There was just a constant stream of people, and basically that was like a really big step towards the change that I'm trying to make, where I'm not a builder anymore, and this kind of thing, and working with the plants and animals is what I'm doing to pay my bills. So Hannah Starrett says, you are the first person in a long time to pronounce my name right. Fantastic. Well, that's great news. I'm very proud of myself. Yeah, so it was about, I was selling a lot of my courses and just sort of raising awareness of what I'm doing here. So it was a localized thing. YouTube's global. The podcast is global. But obviously the courses and stuff that I'm running is a local thing. So it was my first foray into sort of marketing, that kind of stuff, and it went really, really well. It really did. So it's still like the first step in a long path of getting, enough business in that area that I can really make a living from it. But it's definitely, that first step I've made, and I suppose it's what it has highlighted to me is just how time is going to be a bit of an issue for me in the next few weeks, because it's almost like I'm working 3 jobs. I was working 2 jobs before. I was a builder, and then I was doing the stuff at home here, including the media, the podcast and YouTube. Now, in addition to that, I'm adding basically a 3rd job, which is to build the courses that I'm doing and promote them. So it's going to be, quite a lot of work, and that doesn't scare me, but just sometimes it can it can feel like a bit too much. So Project Serenity is our 12-acre project growing sustainable food, planting food forests, and many other things. I love your podcast and listen to it when I'm planting. Wow, thank you so much. That's awesome. Whereabouts are you in the world? That'd be awesome to know. So Liam P. Rayner, hi Carl. Hannah is my boss, so that means there's another job on my jobs list. Perfect. That sounds great. What a nice job, though. So I'm assuming. So is that like a? Is that the like a pick your own place? I can't remember who that was. No, that wasn't you. Yeah, what is it? Job where? Is it in a private garden or is it in a commercial setting? I'm intrigued and I'd like to know more. So today's question, the question that I wanted to ask all of you guys is to tell me, what are you self-sufficient in? I did a podcast a long time ago called Become Self-Sufficient in One More Thing. And it was about the idea that whatever size we're working on, whatever scale we're working on, sometimes it can seem a bit daunting to try and become, self-sufficient in everything. And, as I've said 100 times, it's a bit of a misnomer, the idea of becoming self-sufficient in everything. But what we can do is become self-sufficient in some things, some little things, and focus on them. So what are you self-sufficient in? And, so Emma McPherson says she's self-sufficient in eggs, and that's a great one. That's a really great project to become self-sufficient in, because it's one that you can do fairly simply. You just need enough chickens, and you don't need that many chickens to achieve that. But we can all be self-sufficient in some things, in certain portions of what we're doing. So I'd love to know what you are self-sufficient in. Project Serenity is in sunny Lancashire. We're not that sunny today. I'm inside because it's a bit windy and it's dry, but it's a little bit inclement out there. So yeah, we're staying inside. Jason writes, hi Uncle Carl, great video, love Khaleesi. Oh, awesome Khaleesi, so glad you're watching. Jeff and Deb Shipton are self-sufficient in garlic, bay leaves, and a few other herbs, eggs, and weeds. Awesome. I was thinking, because we're having a great year in the garden actually, but we're also having more pest trouble with certain pests than we have had in the past. And it got me to thinking, and it's just an idea I wanted to share with everyone, the idea that it can ebb and flow, and you can have an amazing season, and then the following year you can be faced with problems you've not had before, and it can be really easy to get demoralized. And it brought me around to the idea that, if it was your first season and you've put in loads of effort and you've planted loads of stuff, and then you have a difficult season with pest damage or whatever it might be, it can feel sometimes that the only thing you're self-sufficient in is, slugs and pigeons, and it could be really disheartening. But I just want to say, don't be put off. All of the challenges that we face, and all of the things that are difficult, and all of the problems that we face and solve, they're problems that we learn from, and then the following year we come round and we're a little bit better at it and prepared for it. So if you're struggling with a certain pest or whatever, then don't let it dishearten you too much. Just try and learn from it, and next year maybe protect against that certain thing. So next year we're going to do a lot more to protect our brassicas from pigeons, because it's been the bane of my vegetable bed this year. Got a few more comments here. So Jenny Nichols writes, not sure I've already read this, dry my own flowers for herbs and tea. Awesome. Mark Parnaby is writing, the Parnabys who are patrons, as are Jeff and Deb. We are just about self-sufficient in eggs, meat, and salad. Awesome. Emma McPherson is self-sufficient in nettles. Fantastic, aren't we all? Project Serenity is self-sufficient in courgettes and horsetail. And Elliot Hughes, herbs mainly, but only started last year. Again, Elliot, it's great to pick things like herbs. There's a lot of herbs that we can, like eggs. Eggs and herbs are two things that we can kind of tick off fairly early on our journey and become fairly self-sufficient in. Liam Rayner writes, we try our best to grow our own backyard, small holding / homestead. Sorry, let me start again. We're trying to best to grow our own backyard slash small holding homestead. We have poultry and usual videos to inspire us for more challenges like yogurt, etc. That's awesome. DSR IT training. Don't worry, you're late again. That's fine. It's not a prerequisite. You can get here whenever you like. Jenny Nichols writes, I'm ashamed to say, when I first started, I used slug pellets to kill the slugs. Now I share my plants with the pests. Susie Grange, nettles, mint, raspberries, compost, rhubarb, herbs, and lettuce. That's fantastic. The idea of being self-sufficient in compost is something that I'm still working towards, largely because of the size of the garden that we grow and the way we grow it, and the sort of style of gardening we use means we need a lot of compost every year, and we're getting there. And if I had more time, I could be self-sufficient quite easily, because there are sources locally where I can go and just collect really well rotted horse manure and things like that. And it's just having the time to make those round trips to go and collect them is the one thing that's kind of a roadblock for me being completely self-sufficient in compost at the moment. So I admire that. That's fantastic that you're there. Do you have any advice? This is Liam P. Rayner again. Do you have any advice on the best way to get yourself back into a good headspace when you get a bit overwhelmed by your heroes list? Funnily enough, it's something my wife and I are struggling with right now, because it feels like, and having that Saturday, so weekends obviously are when we get our biggest opportunity to do things here, and having that market yesterday just gobble up a half of our time, along with me being really busy at work, everywhere we look, we are facing jobs that need doing, and the list is growing, and it's really difficult. And honestly, I talk about it sporadically on the podcast. I don't know how much I've mentioned it here on the YouTube channel, but meditation is a real help for me. And insofar as just dealing with any kind of mental issues at all, meditation is just the biggest boon. But it's about recognizing where you are and recognizing that it's a road. We're trying to, or making it so we don't feel like we're trying to achieve something. We're not trying to achieve this. There is no goal. There is no finish line. There's nothing when we're done. And working with plants has been beneficial in just a huge amount in this regard for me, because as a builder, there's always a project. There's a project with a finish line. And once you reach the finish line, the project's done, and you move on to the next project, which has a finish line. So you spend your whole life thinking about achieving this goal. Just going to have a sip of my drink, sorry. And when you're working with a garden, particularly if you're using permaculture principles, there is no finish line. Nothing's ever finished. There's no finality to anything, because even if we're harvesting a plant, the plant we're harvesting, we're going to take that in, we're going to discard some of it. Now that's going to go back into our compost pile. So we're still not done with that plant, even when we've harvested it. Then that compost is going to rot down, and that's going to go into the cycle of our soil for next year and grow the plant. And then in the space that the plant was, we're going to take a seedling that we might have started thinking about months ago and put that in that space. And then that's going to grow on. So there's just this constant cycle. Nothing's ever finished. And trying to grasp these finish lines and these goals and these targets can mean that we get overwhelmed by this sense that we're never going to get done. Well, that there's good reason for that. It's because we are never going to get done, and that's okay. And sometimes focusing on what we're not going to achieve can take a lot of the enjoyment and joy away from what we're doing. If we just try and think about what we're doing in that moment and enjoy it, it's only our own thought process and our thinking about the future that can cause us this hardship and these mental blocks. So it sounds a little bit zen, but living in the moment, and don't let future concerns stop you enjoying the present, because there's so much to enjoy every minute of every day if we just allow ourselves to be present in that moment. So that was a bit of a a ramble. I hope I wasn't too preachy. I just want to get caught up on a few messages here. Forgive me if you've written a message and I've missed it. I do apologise. Where are we? So DSR IT training, yes, loads of nettles here too, and Herb Robert and dandelions and 3 leeks garlic. Would that be 3-cornered leek? That's what I know it as, I think. Jeff and Deb shipped in. We recently became self-sufficient in yogurt, though we may have lost it during the storm power outage. You thought you may have lost it, but it survived. That's awesome news. Emma McPherson, I'm drying herbs and flowers, etc. for teas during the winter. That's a great thing. So drying is a huge part of what we do here. Our dehydrator is not plugged in at the moment, but it is pretty much constantly right through the spring, summer and autumn. So I love drying things. I'm a volunteer master composter, but still not self-sufficient in compost, DSR, IT training rights. And yeah, like I say, it's one of the challenges I face, I think. Chickens are a great snail removal service, writes Liam, and that's aimed at well, anyone really who was worried about using slug pellets and stuff. Project Serenity, yes to the compost comment. My goal for 2022, added bokashi and wormery to my system. That's a great way of increasing your turnover of compost. From my point of view, because we've got the animals we've got the pigs, we've got the dogs, we've got the chickens, we don't have much waste to really use in those types of systems. So that might change when we lose our pigs. Jenny Nichols writes that she hopes to get chickens when she moves. Pesky Chicken, hello. Welcome to the stream. Writes, self-sufficient skill set. Chickens, goats, butchering, gardening, cheese, yogurt, cajeta, incubating, spoon making, waste not, want not. It's a continual journey. I love everything you write there, and I feel very much connected to it. Cajeta is something I've never heard of before, if I'm pronouncing that right. What is that? I'd love to know. Yeah, so there you go. And we'll get back onto the Egyptian walking onions a bit later. So if you're here for them, we will get back to them. I was talking about yesterday's market. It went really, really well. I've got a little video coming up of that. And we're going to be harvesting the first of our potatoes later. Is anyone else harvesting potatoes yet? I know at least one of you are, because I've seen the pictures on Facebook. I think that was Emma McPherson, but I might be wrong. Yeah, let me know what you're harvesting already, because we're at that time of year now, aren't we? At least here in the Northern Hemisphere. I know some of you guys down there in the Southern Hemisphere are sort of in the depths of winter, but in Australia, most of Australia, I think you've still got the climate where you're, you're growing some crops, aren't you? Project Serenity, totally agree about being present in the moment. Also would add, keep reminding yourself of your reasons why you're doing these things. That's such great advice. Sometimes we can think that all we have is a to-do list. And, I'm guilty of this, and my wife's guilty of this. We can wake up in the morning and think, oh my goodness, all there is just jobs to do. And sometimes we need to just take a step back and think, yeah, there's a tremendous number of jobs to do, but 2 things. Firstly, at least when I speak for myself when I say I've worked incredibly hard to make all these problems for myself. All of these jobs that we're doing, all of this to-do list, they're all things that I've worked for 2 years to make it so that I have this to-do list, and I'm incredibly fortunate to have it. And, thinking about why we're doing what we're doing is a big part of, just staying in touch with the journey and the goals. And, something else. So I'm going off in all kinds of tangents here. Forgive me. You might have seen that we've got like a list on the wall, a little whiteboard list. And we add all the things that we've harvested this year, all the things that we've produced in the garden, all the things that we've made. And there's probably 25 or 30 things on there already. And we're right at the start of the harvesting season. So being able to just, catch a glimpse of that as we're in the kitchen walking around and seeing the, seeing the goals, the gains, the wins is a big part of being able to stay on it as well. And the second thing I was going to say, so staying focused on why you're doing what you're doing. But the second thing I was going to say is sometimes you can just think, it's okay if some of the things don't get done. So, there are, so our garden at the moment, we're a bit behind with things like hedge trimming. We're a bit behind with things like lawn mowing because we don't have our tractor at the moment. And, these are things that we need to do. But if they don't get done this week, it's not the end of the world. If we don't manage to harvest our strawberries one day and we lose a few to bugs and pests, it's not the end of the world. So, we don't need to necessarily get through our hero list every time we write it. And in fact, for me, that's the purpose of a hero list. A hero list is your like overall complete to-do list, and you set yourself, it's a challenge. So if you get it done, that's like massive, but you set it up thinking, you're probably not going to achieve it, and that's okay. So what else have we got here? So Project Serenity writes, totally agree about being present in the moment. Also would add, keep reminding yourself of your reasons why you're doing these things. Pesky chicken cajeta is Mexican caramel sauce made with sugar, vanilla and goat milk and a touch of baking soda. I'm going to have to check that out for sure. Talking about projects and, all the things on our to-do list, you've heard me say probably 20 or 30 times, oh yeah, this is something I want to get done in the next few days or weeks, and then just, not get round to it. Goat's milk soap is one of those. I really want to be making goat's milk soap, but just it never, ever, ever has made it right to the top of my to-do list because there's always other things to do. It will, and I'm definitely going to do it. And, I want to make dandelion coffee. I want to make, a million and one other things. And, it took me the longest time to show you guys how to do those salt-cured egg yolks. In fact, wait right there because some of you guys, or most of you guys, won't actually have seen the finished article. I'll quickly just grab them. Hang on. There we go. So you saw me put these in the salt. You saw me put these in the salt and then dry them. And these, look, they're really quite solid. And these now will grate quite happily. And they'll grate straight on top of pasta. Amazing. And they smell and taste amazing. So, yeah, just a quick update for you. And I'm back. So, got a few messages to catch up on here. DSRIT training, a bit behind in Norfolk on the potatoes, not floured yet. Emma McPherson harvested some of your garlic yesterday. I know, and I saw it drying. It looks amazing. Vicky Parnaby, my polytunnel potatoes may be ready. I'll have to have a dig around to see. Hi, Vicky. Emma McPherson writes, I harvested potatoes that grew from potatoes we missed last year, and some strawberries and some raspberries. Awesome. Hawk Moon, only got 5 minutes on my lunch break. We'll watch full video later. Hi, Hawk Moon. So glad that you're here. Project Serenity, never let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And that is such a great saying, and I live by that. Don't let the idea that you can't do something 100%, you can't do something to the standard you'd like to, be a reason not to do it at all. I think that's huge. We have a photo album. This is Hannah Starrett. Old school, I know, for each year, so we can look back and see what we have achieved when we are feeling overwhelmed or disheartened. That's a great idea. And one of the things I love about having this YouTube channel, actually, is I can go back and see things like where the garden was, what I was doing and what I've learned. And it's a great way of sort of documenting what I'm doing, and I think it would just be awesome to look back on it. And who knows where we'll be in 30 or 40 years, but maybe even my grandkids can have a look at it and stuff like that. So it's just, yeah, awesome. So now, forgive my pronunciation of your name, Seungo Choi. Please tell me if that's right or if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Seungo Choi writes, do you know Tinker's Bubble? Yes, I do. And I was actually invited out there and I did a video from there, which is in my feed. If you search Self-Sufficient Hub Tinker's Bubble in YouTube, you'll find my video of my trip out there. And I also recorded a podcast interview out there, although the audio is not fantastic. But again, that can be found in the Self-Sufficient Hub podcast feed. For those of you who don't know, Tinker's Bubble is this. Sorry. Xionggo Choi writes, I read the news in The Guardian, the documentary in The Guardian. So is that a recent thing? Were they in there recently? I'd love to know. But basically, Tinker's Bubble is this off-grid woodland community. And that's... so are you a 9-year-old? Anyway, I don't know if you're... so, Xionggo Choi, are you saying you're a child that's watching my channel? If you are, that's fantastic. Or are you saying there's a 9-year-old girl at Tinker's Bubble? I'm not sure. But the Tinker's Bubble is just this amazing... Oh, I've got you. Got you. Okay. I'll check that out. So, yeah, Tinker's Bubble is this off-grid community, and they live in a woodland community, and it's a fluid community. So I think when I was there, the longest person to have been there had been there maybe a year or two. And people come and go, and you can go and live there and live completely off grid. And it's awesome actually. It's that they've got a steam engine that powers a wood mill, and they sell some of their wood that they harvest. They've got a 28 acre, I believe. It's a while since I've been there. I think it's a 28 acre woodland that they kind of live on. They've got springs on there that they harvest water from. They have horses there that they work to harvest the trees and to till the ground. And they also make cider from apples, and those are their two products that they kind of sell. And in exchange for those, they use that commerce to basically purchase things like spices and grains. And yeah, fantastic place. And like I say, anyone can go and apply to go and join the community and go and live there and learn some skills. And I just think it's, yeah, a fantastic place and a fantastic idea. And yeah, I was very, very privileged actually to be allowed to go and walk around there, because they don't do media very often or anything like that. So yeah, I'll definitely check out that article. Forgive me, just a second. Another little bit of news. So we, as you know, September, no live video would be complete without me mentioning my September challenge. And I've made a bit of a leap forward in the last couple of days, unbeknownst to me. So we have decaf coffee here. One of the things I love is coffee and caffeine. So one of the things that I've been kind of bracing myself for September was the idea of going cold turkey with no caffeine, no coffee. Now, I did step down to basically drinking decaf through the day, and I would have one, what I would call real coffee in the morning, first thing, a caffeinated coffee. And as regular listeners and viewers will know, yes, we are British. Yeah, very British. We're in the UK, in England, southwest England, and I am a British man. So in in preparation for September, because in September I'm only going to be eating things that I can grow myself, forage myself, trap myself, whatever it might be. So I'm not going to be having any caffeinated coffee. I'm not going to be having any coffee, full stop. So I'm trying to wean myself off the caffeine. And so what we did was we started buying decaf, and I was drinking decaf for almost all my coffee. And then I was having one caffeinated coffee in the morning. And as you'll know, I'm ridiculously spoilt in my marriage, in that my wife gets up earlier than me every day, and she brings me a coffee in bed. And what I did not know is that we ran out of caffeinated coffee 3 days ago, and I've been having decaf all through the day, and I didn't even notice. So it's like when you're learning to ride a bike, I thought my wife was still holding the seat, and she wasn't. So I've actually been pretty much caffeine free for about 3 days, and we're not going to buy any more. So yeah, that's a huge step for me mentally in preparation for September. Xionggo Choi writes that everything in your videos are impressive in positive ways. Thanks for all the videos. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And you're joining us from Korea. Fantastic. And yeah, there you go. Go Jackie from Jeff and Deb. So yeah, that's a huge step that I've made. I'm super, super thrilled with that. We've got on our to-do list, I'm going to get my second vaccination as soon as this live video ends. In about 1 hour from now, I'm booked to get my second vaccination, which is awesome. And we actually went to visit my gran and my aunt for the first time in a year and a half. So they're both extremely vulnerable. My gran is 94, I believe, something like that, and my aunt is in her 70s, I think, or early 70s, late 60s, and she has emphysema. So they're both extremely vulnerable, and they basically didn't leave the house and didn't have a visitor for well over a year. And we went to visit them for the first time, and that was immense. That was just 2 or 3 days ago, because they're now fully vaccinated. I've had my first jab, my wife's had her second jab, and that was awesome. So I'm going to get my second jab this afternoon, and then we're all done in this house. At least the adults are. Kimro 1970 writes, there is a book about a guy who made himself a challenge of living off the wild land for 12 months. He'd done it but lost weight. He claims you need at least 50 acres to do it. Very interesting. Well, I am actually going to weigh myself at the start and end of September, but I don't think I'm going to lose any weight. We shall see. Liam writes, we're in Pen Selwood, or we were in Pen Selwood a few years back, and bumped into a forager, an old man. He mentioned some mushrooms, but I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name. Well, Pen Selwood, you may know, Liam, or may not, is very close to us. In fact, Pen Selwood is one of the places that I do lead foraging walks, or a place called King Alfred's Tower, which is very, very close to that. There's a lovely ancient woodland there, and we do quite a bit of foraging there. So, yeah, that's interesting. So I'm guessing, because that's just a little village, it's not like a tourist destination. Do you have family in the area? That would be my guess, I would assume. So, yeah, the rest of my day, I've got my vaccine booked, and then we're going to get back, and hopefully, although we haven't discussed it yet, my wife and I are going to fix the tractor. Because if you notice me staring over there, I'm looking at the new belt that we've bought for the tractor, which is ready to go on, and then we can hopefully start getting caught up with the mowing and everything else. So I did say that I'll mention it once more, and that is the Egyptian walking onion bulbs. Again, if you ask for them in this video, or if you're here in the live stream and you'd like some, you just have to let me know. And you know, the only criteria is that you turned up to this live stream, and then once you've done that, please send me an email, and the email address is just down there in the description. Really easy. Just send me an email with your address, and then I will post them out to you. They're an amazing plant, and I just swear by them. They're just fantastic. DSRIT training, your husband's just mown the lawn. We've got a funny day weather-wise here. It looks like we might get a little bit of rain. Okay, so Hannah Starrett is, she knows King Alfred's Tower, and her parents live in Wincanton. Well, if you're ever in the area, Hannah, and you want to come on one of our foraging walks, then do get in touch. So Deb's mum from Deb and Jeff, and more patrons, turned 95 today. Oh, happy birthday, Deb's mum. We've both had our first jab. Can't wait to get the second and feel more able to visit her and other vulnerable family members more safely. Excellent. Vicky, can I have some walking onions? Of course you can. Liam, it's a beautiful place. We have in-laws in West Hill. Seungo Choi, seems weather looks so perfect on there. Well, it's dry. It's dry. It's just a little bit windy and cloudy, and I think we might get the odd shower. Just had a reminder come up on my phone for my vaccination. Very grey here in Norfolk too, writes DSRIT training. Hi Elliot, I'd like some, but live in Australia, haven't had a chance to check the import details. Deb, question mark. Well, Elliot, I know Shannon, who is also in Australia and who I think you spoke to on the Facebook group as well as here in the YouTube comments. She did check it out, and she got everyone's hopes up, and and I think that we were kind of thinking it would be okay, but then I think, I keep saying he, Sorry, Shannon. Yeah, Shannon checked it out on Facebook and kind of thought it might be okay, but then I think after doing a bit more digging, he's kind of come to the conclusion that it's not really possible. Yeah, my wife's just come to correct me, but I got there before her. Thank you, love. Jenny Nichols, I'm doing a mini tour in September and I've booked myself on one of your courses. Can't wait to identify some free plants. Awesome, Jenny. Thank you. Fantastic. Something about commercial packaging. Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not really sure on the ins and outs. I just know that Australia is kind of really, really tight on biosecurity at their ports. And you might be interested to know that here in the UK, there's a TV show all about it. And it's like one of those, fly on the wall documentary type TV shows, and we watch things get incinerated at your ports all the time. Jeff and Deb Shipton, right? Yeah, it's really tough to import here. They confiscate most plant materials, especially without commercial packaging, etc. And I think that's just one of those things. But am I right in saying, Deb, that you got some bulbs out there and they weren't that expensive? You were able to source some. So the reason I mention that is, border security. That's the name of the show. That's it. Yeah, we have that here. That program. It is hilarious, fantastic. But I think you can actually get them there, and they're not, prohibitively expensive. And it is one of the things I really like to do as a thank you for our patrons as well, outside the scope of this video. This video is a little reward for those of you who turn up to the live stream. But outside of that, I do like to offer not just the Egyptian walking onion bulbs, but occasionally other seeds and things that I have here. I like to offer them to patrons as a thank you, and as a way of you having something in your garden that kind of is a link to us here and what we're doing. And it's a shame that I can't do that with you guys in Australia, but I don't want that to be a reason why you think you can't get them. That's what I'm trying to say. So you should be able to source some out there that don't cost that much money. So please make sure that you don't get put off having them. Kimro 1970 writes, any tips on growing iceberg lettuce? Mine all died when I transplanted them from the greenhouse. Yeah, so they can struggle at transplant just because I think so you've got the sort of head of lettuce when you're transplanting your seedlings, and then directly below it where it switches from sort of above ground plant to roots is really, really fragile. So they can just get damaged, I think, really easily in the transplanting process. So honestly, I think it is just a case of being really delicate and trying to, if you can, so I don't know where you are in the country, but right now you can be direct sowing your iceberg lettuce in the ground, in your vegetable plot. So there's no need to transplant. And you can actually do that now right through till sort of September time, maybe even October, depending on when your frost dates are. But other than that, if you can, rather than sowing them in seed trays, if you can sow them in individual modules, that's going to help. Because, so you've got the same climate as I have. So that's going to help, because then you can transplant the whole plant and the whole root ball, if you like, without trying to disturb it. When I've grown them in seed trays, and I still do sometimes, it kind of depends on what I've got lying around. But when I grow them in seed trays, the separating the roots process means that sometimes you're kind of having to transplant the roots rather than the root ball. I don't know if do you call it a root ball in seedlings? I don't know. But that, like I say, that little tiny connection between the roots and the rest of the plant is so delicate. That's what I've found to be the biggest problem. And then obviously once you get them out, we've actually been really lucky this year. We've had pigeons attacking our brassicas, but other than that, our lettuce have just done amazingly. We've had very little slug damage or any other kind of pest damage. We're just getting to the start of, cabbage white butterflies. We're just seeing them now. But I think just the transplanting process, if you can transplant them with the root ball, and I don't know if has anyone else got any tips for transplanting lettuce seedlings and any reasons why they might be failing. Is that what you're experiencing, or is it once you've got them out, the plants die because they get attacked? Yeah, if that's it, then there are some other solutions you can do. You can protect them with like little bottles, little plastic bottles, cut the top and the bottom off and use it as like a cloche that's open at the top, because that will stop birds and slugs and stuff getting to it. So that's another thing that you can do. Where are we here? So Jeb and Def Shipton, back to border patrol or border security. Believe it or not, they used to walk through passenger planes that landed here and sprayed the cabin and everyone on it. Thankfully, they don't anymore. And again, Jeff and Deb, they got some Egyptian walking onions from an online supplier here, and they'll be going in the spring. So they are available out there for sure. Liam is double jabbed and can't wait to visit sunny Wincanton in a couple of weeks. Awesome. Joys of both being healthcare workers. Yeah, so I think everywhere in the world is going through different stages of the pandemic. I think here in the UK, it feels like we're at the beginning of the end. It really does. You know, most people I meet now, most adults have been fully vaccinated or are in the process of being fully vaccinated. We live in a rural area, obviously, so that's a huge advantage. But I can't remember the last time there was a case at one of our children's schools. And, there's several hundred children within that category there, schools. So, it feels like we are right at the end of the pandemic, and we're coming out of it soon. And that certainly seems to be what we're hearing in the news as well. I'm just writing down Rachel's name, Rachel Hellier, because you have also requested some bulbs. And again, Rachel, just send me an email. The link is in the description. Please do just drop me an email with your address in it. I've made a list of all the people that have requested one on this live chat. And again, if you're watching the rerun of this, sorry, but I'm not giving away any more at the moment, but in the future. But if you do want to get some and you didn't get here on the live chat, there are still two ways you can do it. One is just keep watching, and we'll do this again at some point in the future. But the second is to become a patron of the show. It's not something I plug that often on the YouTube channel. I don't know why, but if you'd like to become a patron, and I've got lots of patrons in the chat now, which is just amazing. And your support means all the world to me, and it really helps to motivate me on the days when perhaps I don't feel like I have time to film what I'm doing, or when I'm sort of stuck for a little bit of motivation. Sometimes you guys really make a difference, so thank you so much for that. Your support means the world to me. So if you'd like to become a patron, and by doing so you instantly qualify for your free Egyptian walking onion bulbs, it's probably a very cost-effective way of getting them, then go to patreon.com/self-sufficient hub. Again, a link is in the description. So, please consider becoming a patron. It's just a way of tipping me for, what I'm doing here and the podcast as well. So yeah, do consider it if you haven't already. Where are we? Kimro 1970. We're talking about the lettuce seedlings. Once I plant them out, they die. So it's frustrating as it's my first year. So a general tip with seedlings. In my first year, not just with lettuce, but I had so many seedlings die. I could buy seedlings, transplant them in the ground and grow them on and get a crop. And I could sow seeds in the polytunnel or whatever and get them to seedling. But what I was really struggling with was going from my own seeds to seedlings, transplanting and growing on. For some reason, I couldn't join the dots, and I was really struggling to transplant my own seedlings, and it was incredibly frustrating. So there's a couple of things to say here, Kimro or Simra, and I'm saying this again because you're saying it's your first year. So there's a few things to say. Firstly, don't be shy or scared to buy some seedlings. Generally speaking, when I was buying seedlings, they were slightly more robust looking plants than the ones that I could, get to seedling stage myself from seeds for whatever reason. Or I was just a bit impatient, which might be something you're doing, and I was planting them out before they were robust enough. That's certainly something I fell prey to a great deal, because you're so keen. You've got this seedling that's like, yay big, and you're just desperate to have your garden populated that you rush to get them out. So, there's loads of things I can say that which might help, all sorts of different things. Firstly, don't be scared to buy some seedlings. They're incredibly cheap and they can be really robust, and they can help you get over that hump in the first year and making sure that you get some produce and don't become disheartened. Secondly, maybe leave your seedlings to grow on a little bit more before you're planting them out. And when you're growing seedlings, make sure they've got plenty of compost to allow them to do that. Allow a little seed module per seed maybe. Thirdly, the actual transplanting process, you want to move as much of the compost that the seedlings are in as you possibly can with it. Because when a plant is transplanted, it's going to go through a little bit of shock. And the more of that, original environment you can move with it, the less that shock's going to be. The more you're going to reduce it. So when you're transplanting, another thing you can do is dig a fairly big hole, not massive, and you shouldn't have to do this, but if you're struggling, dig a slightly bigger hole than you otherwise might and transplant it almost like you would a tree. When we put a tree in, we dig a hole twice the size of the root ball, and then we transplant the root ball and then fill around it with compost or whatever it is we're going to put in there. And doing that with your seedlings, again, is going to give them that extra chance. Then I also think about the actual compost root ball itself. Sorry, and I just got a notification come up on my phone. And so when that root ball gets transplanted, I think about the boundary between that old compost and the new ground. And it's going to take a minute for that to kind of form seamlessly with the rest of the soil, and it's not until that's formed that it's going to allow for really easy moisture movement and nutrient movement between the ground and the plant. So just really do, make sure that you're watering really well when you put them in for a few days. And the smaller your seedling, the longer that process might have to take, because you want those roots to make the connection from the soil that they got transplanted with into the new. So hopefully those tips are some use. Got a few more comments just to catch up on here. Simro 1970, yes please for Egyptian walking onions. Let me just make a note there of that. So when you email me, Simro, make sure that you say it's you in your message, in your email. DSR IT training, double jabbed around 2 months, but not seen mum for 18 months. Hope to get over to Northwest soon to see her. I feel for you. That was DSR IT training, who also writes, we love your vlog. Watch everyone. Nice to see you. So much happier. You look so sad when you had your accident. Bless you. Yeah, it was a really difficult time. Really difficult time. And I am much, much happier now. And so let's carry on. Where are we now? Jeff and Deb Shipton, we get so much out of your channel and podcast, so it's our pleasure to help in whatever way we can, talking about their patronage of the show. Thank you, and thank you, all of you guys. So here's another thing that's really important to me. I don't want anyone to feel guilty if they're not a patron or if they can't be a patron. And, we're all in very, very different circumstances. And, I don't want anyone to feel guilty or that they have to keep their head down or they can't comment or whatever if they're not a patron. Absolutely not. I am not about that at all. So, if you can't for whatever reason, or you don't feel that, you get the value, but you still like to watch occasionally, that's all good. And every way that you support what I'm doing is so appreciated. Just by watching my videos, you're supporting what I'm doing. Just by downloading the podcast, you're supporting what I'm doing. So I don't want anyone to feel that they have to, though. So that's really important to me. Emma McPherson writes, I recently found your podcast. It has kept me company a few times this week. Awesome. Jenny Nichols writes, love the podcast. And my wife has written, I was just about to say, wait a bit longer than you think you should before you plant them out. So my wife says exactly the same thing. Simro, 1970, my biggest disappointment was my crimson watermelon. Maybe next year I will have better luck. The only watermelon that lived got killed when the dog buried his bone where the watermelon lived. Oh no. Well, I can't help you with watermelons. We tried them 1 year with no success. So it is definitely something that we will try again, but it's not something we've done since. So I can't really give you too many tips on that. Jeff and Deb Shipton, right? Our dog buried a bone in a bucket of carrot seedlings yesterday. Not happy. That's a way to, destroy several plants in one go, isn't it? That's fantastic. So I'm going to start wrapping this video up, guys. Thank you all ever so much for joining me. These live streams are without doubt my favorite video of the week. I really look forward to them, and I feel like we could carry on chatting for a bit longer today, but unfortunately I've got my jab and I need to leave in about 10 minutes. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all so much, so much for joining me and for supporting the show in all the ways you do. Something is eating Emma McPherson's melon. Could it be a slug? I'm not sure. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll be back same time next week. It's going to be every Sunday at noon. Occasionally we'll have to swap to a Saturday, but I'll let you guys all know in the run-up all the different ways that I can. Otherwise, you can expect me to be here every Sunday at 12 noon. Make sure you press that like button before you go. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I will speak to you guys soon. Liam has... Oh, you and Hannah are now patrons. Thank you so much for signing up to the Patreon. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you all for all of your comments, your well wishes, for getting involved. I love that. I love the interactive nature of these chats. I really, really, really do. And yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, speak to you. Oh, also, last thing, come and check us out on Facebook. Those of you who aren't in our Facebook group, come and check us out there. It's a great little community, Self-Sufficient Hub group on Facebook. That's it. Speak to you guys really soon. Thanks again for tuning in. Oh, all sorts going on here.